Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Torah in 10, the Feast Edition. This week, we're going to be covering the Feast of Shavuot and a little more about that. I'm Henrik Cortez II. Let's get started. As we observe this year's Shavuot, we need to always remember the reason for this feast. And though it is signaled by the ingathering of the grain and the wave offerings for the Lord, there is a meaning and an event which needs to remain inscribed in our minds and in our hearts as a perpetual statute. The giving of the law in Exodus chapters 19 through 20 is the core of this feast. The honor and distinction that God made by giving Israel his law, his heart, can never be overlooked. The question then becomes, why the connection with the grain and the harvest? Well, beyond a simple way for the people to keep track of time to ensure they always celebrate the feast in its proper time, and the answer can be found in Leviticus 23, verse 9 through 21. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the sons of Israel, and say to them, when you enter the land which I am going to give you, and reap its harvest, then you shall bring in the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. He shall wave the sheaf before the Lord for you to be accepted. On that day after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Now on the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a male lamb, 1 year old, without defect, for a burnt offering to the Lord. Its grain offering shall then be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering by fire to the Lord for a soothing aroma, and its drink offering 1/4 of a hin of wine. Until this same day, until you have brought in the offering of your God, you shall eat neither bread, nor roasted grain, nor new growth. It is to be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwelling places. You shall also count for yourselves from the day after the Sabbath, from the day when you brought in the sheaf of the wave offering. There shall be 7 complete Sabbaths. You shall count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and you shall present a new grain offering to the Lord. You shall bring in from your dwelling places 2 loaves of bread for a wave offering, made of 2/10 of an ephah. Then they shall be of a fine flour, baked with leaven as first fruits to the Lord. Also with the bread you shall present 7 one-year-old lambs without defect, and a bull of the herd, and 2 rams. There to be a burnt offering to the Lord, with their grain offering and their drink offering, an offering by fire of a soothing aroma to the Lord. You shall also offer 1 male goat for a sin offering, and 2 male lambs, 1 year old, for a sacrifice of peace offerings. The priest shall then wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering, with 2 lambs before the Lord. They are to be holy to the Lord for the priest. On this day you shall make a proclamation as well. You are to have a holy convocation. You shall do no laborious work. It is to be a perpetual statute in all your dwelling places throughout your generations." The gathering of the harvest from the land that Hashem gave to the people, the offering of the first fruits and the wave offering to God, triggered the counting of the weeks to our freedom and the commemoration of the giving of the Torah and the fulfillment of the promise that allowed Israel to have the land in the first place. We even see a beautiful example of the divine reciprocity that God shows by reading verse 22 of Leviticus 23. "When you reap the harvest of your land, moreover, you shall not reap to the very corners of the field, nor gather the gleaning of your harvest. You are to leave them for the needy and the alien. I am the Lord your God." We can never forget a covenant made with Hashem, which yielded his law for us, to always deal kindly with the gifts and wealth that have been granted to us for our obedience. This feast, like all others, is to honor Hashem for his righteousness, and it is to always remember that we were once slaves, but have been redeemed. We give our best to God. We also are commanded to give some of our harvest for the poor and sojourner among us, like Boaz did for Ruth. Reading time. In lieu of questions this week, I provided some of the core readings for Shavuot. Thanks for joining me. Have a great Shabbat, everybody.